We can't do this without you. So, all right. Well, let's get into it. Our first question today from one of our audience listeners is, I can see the dysfunction on my team clearly, but every time I try to challenge the way things are done, I get pushed back from leadership above me. How do you lead? How do you lead rogue when you're not the one at the top? Wow. How do you lead rogue when you're not the one at the top? Dr. Loretta, you want to take a first swing at that?
Not really, but okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Because
Okay.
that's when even though I had jotted something down, I still have to think about that. Because sometimes the person who comes in and wants to change, they think you're a troublemaker or you're trying to come in and everything, and that's not necessarily the case. But I think they can still be an influence. First of all, what can you control? What
Mm,
can you really do? What's in your circle of influence that you can actually work with, and I do believe you're going to have to model the behavior that you want to see, and making sure that your motivation is right. What's
mm,
the reason for it? What's your true motivation behind it? And of course, that is to make things better and the population you serve. But look at what you can control,
mm.
influence that, and model the behavior. Being transparent, hold yourself accountable. And right now, that's what I think. Something
Mhm.
else might come as I talk to you all, but
Okay.
that's what I think.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that, Dr. Loretta. Dr. Cheryl, how about you?
I like what Dr. Loretta said, particularly with regards to checking our own motives. Like, what is this change about? Is it really, is the intent in mutual benefit? Is it something that's going to benefit everyone? Or what is this change that I'm pushing about? Uh, we'll have to, I guess, at some point, define what everyone means by rogue. I
Mm,
think that's a whole
Yes.
nother thing to think about. But on a dysfunctional team and wanting to step out and push back, I still think that typically it gets to be a little out on the limb
mm,
when we're not in alignment with those who are above us. So, as Dr. Loretta was saying, we have to recognize what is within our decision making authority. What is it that we can influence, and what is it that we really can't influence? And make sure that we check up before we go down so that we are staying, one might say, in alignment. There are some things that may be, there may be some difference on, right? So if we're talking about something that's a core value, an ethical issue,
mm,
that's different than a process. I might see some things I think could be done more efficiently or better, but my upline thinks that it needs to be done differently. Well, I need to stay in alignment. So if I'm going to go out on a limb on something, I need to be going out on a limb that's something really important, like it's an ethics violation or something. Otherwise, yes, it is definitely leading, one might say, rogue, which again, we'll define what that looks like.
mm,
I'd say if you're not at the top, then you need to still check with whoever your top is
mm,
to make sure you're in alignment, or you're basically going out on a limb. So you
mm.
have to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to agree with both of you doctors. I think the pushback that this particular audience listener references, when I think about the pushback you're getting from leadership, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means that you're probably right, and folks are just not ready yet to think differently, to do things differently as part of leadership. And so, leading rogue when you are not at the top starts with what I call influence, almost like strategic influence. You lead where you have authority and demonstrate results in your own lane. You don't have to have the title to create a model. And so I want to also say, as part of that process, as we talk about uh, leading a rogue, know your moment, right? There's a difference between a frontal assault on your leader with a strategic cultivation of change. Pick your conversations, document your outcomes, build coalitions, because the leader who keeps showing up with results eventually earns the platform to show up and speak even bolder. So I think even though you may not be at the top in terms of your leadership regimen, I think the key is to just, again, know your lane, and also you can change within that lane and really become bold and rogue in your leadership as you try to push for better, as you try to challenge status quo, as you try to think differently about processes, as you think about, is this the way we need to do it? Can we think about a different way? So that's what I would add to that question as well. So,
Before we move on, you triggered some thoughts as we were talking. Results are important,
yeah.
and certain capabilities are important. And those are things that certainly can be pointed to and we can see. I love Franklin Covey's work with regards to success at the speed of trust, because at the root, still, we have to go back to what Dr. Loretta said. I got to check myself and make sure that which I'm desiring to do is with good integrity and good intention. So, what's my character check before I push on something as well? So, is this thing that I'm pushing, this change I'm pushing for, with beneficial intent and integrity?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, if you're not at the top, a lot of folks don't exercise this rogue leadership position, and I think that's unfortunate. I think I think organizations could benefit more from having rogue leaders throughout the organization, whether you're middle management, lower management, entry level management, as well as top management. I am a proponent for rogue leaders throughout the organization, and as a top leader, I want to encourage that too as well. And don't have to feel threatened or feel as though I'm being assaulted. Again, if you understand where you're coming from, if you understand your lane, if you understand what authority you do have, I think you want to show up in the best light around that. So great. Well, thank you for that question. We'll get to our second audience question coming up, but keep sending those questions in. Very powerful questions. So let's get into this, setting the stage. And Dr. Red, I think I'll hand this first question over to you.
All right. Well, we keep saying rogue leadership, and I'm in agreement with Dr. Sherrill. We need to define exactly what do you mean, because some people might be panicking out there thinking, what do you mean a rogue leader? And it might be a misperception about it. So as we go on into the conversation, let's define exactly what rogue leadership is, and that what we're talking about is actually a good thing. It's not something negative. All right. So, Dr. Dre, what is a rogue leader?
Wow. So when I think about a rogue leader, I'm not talking about being insubordinate. I'm not talking about blowing up the organization just for the sake of it. Rogue leadership, the way I'm defining it, and I think we're defining it for the show, and the way we're framing it today, is about having the courage to break from systems and structures that are no longer serving your people, no longer serving the mission, and doing it on purpose, with intention, with strategy. It is the leader who says, you know what, I see a better way we can do things, and I'm willing to disrupt the comfortable to get to the necessary. And again, the rogue leader, wherever you're at on that leadership sphere, means that I'm going to be courageous and take a step out and say, hey, can we do this differently? Can I get out of my comfort zone and just raise the question? Can I challenge in a respectful way, the way we've always done things, the way we go about trying to get to our mission? I continue to think about the sector, especially the nonprofit sector. Continuously, we challenge ourselves with trying to make these large, universal, sweeping changes in terms of bettering communities and people. We're still at it. We're still trying to do better with that. And so I think it's time for rogue leaders to show up and to be bold and, again, to be respectful. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying go out and put everybody last on Facebook in a negative way. I'm talking about doing this in a way that's supportive and respectful as part of that. And so I think we are in that season where organizations are still running on old operating manuals. This is the way we've always done it, burning out the teams, losing relevance. It has become so transactional. The mission demands more from us today than simple tradition. So leading Rogue is not rebellion, it's courageous responsibility. So that's how I'm framing it and thinking about what Rogue leadership is about.
Yeah, great. Well, I definitely want to hear Dr. Sherrill's definition of it. I see we're coming up on a break, so, but I definitely want to hear what Dr. Sherrill has to say.
Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Cheryl agrees with me. She can just say ditto.
Well,
That's Rogue leadership.
I will say this, that on very rare occasion can I say ditto to Dr. Dre, but I will say ditto.
Oh,
The way I can get behind the term rogue would be to think of someone who's willing to be courageous and do something that's different than the norm. So certainly I would not be in agreement with someone doing something that was dishonest or doing something where it would be, one might say, framed as insubordinate. I think that, but I do think that there's a way you can be courageous and you can, as Dr. Dre said, choose your moments. You can choose your battles and stand up on those things that are principles. And from that perspective, if we're talking about Rogue as being courageous and willing to do the something outside of the norm or that may be unexpected, I can certainly get behind Rogue with that definition.
Actually, and I know break is quick, but I agree with some of the things you said, Dr. Dre, but I agree with Dr. Sherrill's version about that courageousness, because when you were talking about the rogue leader, I thought about people who are like whistleblowers, civil rights people. There's this something you see that's wrong, and you really want to be on the side of right, and you want to help everybody come along and do the right thing. But, and I'm not trying to say put it on blast, but sometimes you might have to put it on blast if people are doing something right. That's where that courage comes in, because it takes courage to be a whistleblower when something is wrong that people are doing, and you just don't keep going with the status quo. But I like everything I heard from you all, I do. But that was my first thought was about whistleblowers. It's like, oh, yeah, it takes courage to do that.
That's good. Hey, but I know we've got to take a break, a short break. But when we return, let's dig a little deeper into this rogue leadership and examine it. Maybe talk about some of the invisible rules that goes along with being a rogue leader. And so stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions.